Okay, hi. Yeah, that was Tobin and Kendra. They do is it Kin Bin Fam? They're a little band where they just jam out together. It's pretty fun stuff. I like raw acoustic. Obviously, I got like a mountain of acoustic instruments over there. It's just something I like. It's just something I enjoy. So I thought I would share it with you since Tobin sent it to me and published it. Go out if you're not subscribed to their channel. Go out and subscribe because they're always doing like fun little videos like that. And they do like real full songs with lyrics as well. But if someone wants to drop the link, if one of my mods wants to drop the link for their channel down below, it's good stuff. Hello, and welcome to Live from the Hive. It's Saturday morning. And we are here 9:30 a.m. Central Standard Time to bring you just some silly, fun stuff for the weekend. Happy that everybody could pop in and join us. I am on iced coffee today, so I'm running a little slower. My body doesn't have to, my body has to heat it out before it can absorb it. But it's good to see everybody. Good morning. We got Jaded Atheist. We got Native Atheist. We've got Greg Hartwick. We've got Rain. We've got D Parks. Yeah, we got Geo Sam even. Good morning, all of you beautiful people. I'm so happy that everyone wanted to stop in and hang out with me this morning. We do have a fun show ahead. We got some fun topics to cover, and I cannot wait to get started. But housekeeping, of course. First things first. I've been worried about my Halloween moon crab since the move. It's been really quiet. Usually he scuttles around at night, and I haven't heard it. Been concerned. Been a little worried about him. So today I heard him scuttling around, and he was out and about this morning before the show this morning. First time I've heard him since on the 4th of July, moving around. So, and there's a reason with arthropods, but I can't leave them alone when that happens, because especially the larger ones like crabs, they take a while to get in a physical condition where they can move again. But he has molted. He is molted, and he is gorgeous. Purple, orange, and white, black edging. And I did get a little video of him this morning, and he is bigger. He's much bigger. He's about that big now. He's about as big. He's about as big as he was about the size of a Nokia flip phone, but he's a little bit bigger than that now. And he's got a big claw too. So I will be sharing that later. Don't worry. He will be another star of the show. Now, Halloween moon crabs are a bit aggressive. I thought about trying to reach in there and grab them to show them to you guys. I didn't want to get all pinchy this morning. Crustaceans, they like to pinch. But I might try to handle them. I don't know. They're an aggressive species. I don't want to. The main reason why what makes me reluctant. Native atheists, we're going to talk about murder hornets here in a little bit too. Don't you worry. They're on the docket here. So anyway, he's beautiful, and we're going to visit with him and probably learn a little bit about him. I've done a video on him before, just a little short one with just clips of him crawling around and stuff. But yeah, this is what I was answering to when you're going to get one of those murder hornets. And I don't I would love to keep hymenopterans, but you have to keep a colony of them. Right now I'm not in a place where I can do that, but if I do, it probably won't be a vespid. I could consider like a vespid that's out in the garden, like a vespid, a nest of, if I know where their nest is, I could say, hey, these are my pet wasp. They are free range hornets. So if I had like a nest of Asian giant hornets of Vespid mandarinia, the Japanese, or the Vespid mandarinia japanico is the biggest. I think that they're a little bit bigger than the mainland ones. That's a subspecies that's from Japan. And they are massive, truly massive. I've seen some massive hornets out here, though, out in my backyard, or the backyard here around the pond. If you're following me on any other of the social media, you'll know I've been doing little backyard safari clips where we explore different creatures. And if I could catch that hornet that's out there, so I could not to keep it, but to like say, hey, here's one of our native hornets. This is how big they are, and this is what they look like, and this is how they act. And they look amazing. They look like, oh man, the ones around here. See, we'll get. I'm getting ahead of myself. There's more hornets to come, but I've done frogs and toads. And if you want to see, if you would like me to do a video, or maybe cover that in one of my streams here about how to distinguish between frogs and toads, I would be happy to, because I did have fun talking to my mom about that. Oh, my makeup is running. Look. Yeah, I was in a hurry doing my makeup this morning because I got distracted playing with my crab. Tobin Templeman, did you see the beginning of the the stream. I played like 3/4 of your new song, your jam song. I hope that's okay. I really loved it. And I don't have an intro, so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna share Tobin's thing and send people over there to subscribe. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you do go rock out with Tobin and Kendra, because they put on a hell of a show all the time. I'm glad to see them back. It's been a minute since they've released anything new. I imagine they've had stuff going on. We all have. I mean, yeah, I'm not even, look at where I am. I'm not even close to the Hive anymore. But I guess the Hive's wherever the queen bee is, though, isn't it? So I'm right here, bitches. Here's my pseudo confidence. Have that up so high. It's pointed at the ceiling. I like that blue wall behind you, but I don't like the ceiling because, well, I mean, and again, I'm not complaining because I'm happy to have a roof over my head at the moment, but this is my mom's place, and she smokes a lot. She's a heavy smoker. So, unfortunately, the ceilings are kind of yellow. You know, that's all. Just made it in. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Absolutely. You should use a killer whale to off the murder hornets. That's a thing, too. I actually, with killer whales, you know, all these common names that don't really fit. You know, we'll have to explore that. Anyway, I got a lot of things to go over this morning. The first thing I'm doing, for CryptoCorner, and if I had actually waited until, if I hadn't decided on it already, I probably would have switched it because I found something else I wanted to talk about that was more relevant. So this is something that was always on the cutting room floor of topics to cover in CryptoCorner, because these videos were very prevalent in the mid 2000s. Very popular in the, especially if you're into the crypto, supernatural. If you were looking into that stuff, you would have seen this phenomena. It started in Russia, actually, with a Russian video, and now there's a few different people attempting to do their own versions of it that are. They get pretty weird. We're going to look at a few of them, though, I think. So, to start off, we'll look at one that popped up in my stream recently that reminded me that I wanted to do this topic. There we go. We'll get there in a minute. Sorry, I'm again single screen, not used to it, but trying to make do. So bear with me. All right, now full screen. Otherwise, it does the full screen, which is not what we're going for here. So this is how to make a homunculus. Now. I guess we should go over what a homunculus is. A homunculus is like a little creature. I think singular, it's homunculi, but it might just be homunculus. Let's see. Yeah, they're made by, but instead of being made by a intercourse between a human and another human or another member of the genus Homo, anyway, you're going to put your seed inside of a chicken egg. This is medieval alchemy. So this is from old medieval alchemy books. You put your seed into the chicken egg. You can drill a tiny little hole in there. and then you inject it. And all of these folks that I've seen do it so far followed the instructions of the original creator. And we're going to look at that one too in a minute, but his is really long. This one's shorter and more to the point. His takes, that's like 23 episodes or something like that. They put tape on it. I don't know if it's medieval, so you have to keep in mind that they didn't know about microbes and things like that. That's like putting tape on your wound. You're going to get an infection. This is not keeping any bacteria out of this egg. Putting this little piece of tape over the top of it. First of all, depending on how sterilized the work area is, this wound probably already infected. And I say wound because you're puncturing the egg. I guess these have to be farm fresh eggs. They can't be like store-bought unfertilized eggs. I don't know. It's far too early for injecting the seeds, says Amanda. Yeah. About 2016 is when these all started popping up in my feed. But that was when I was looking into that stuff. I was really big into debating on some paranormal forums and stuff like that. So these came up a lot. And they're interesting, but this is a newer one. This one came out actually after I was like into going into these forums and debating. I don't really go into forums anymore at all. But I used to be moderator in a lot of them. Supernatural forums and animal forums. Carnivora forum was like my favorite. That's a whole other topic though. So anyway, they inject the man chowder into the chicken egg and seal it up for 10 days. Now, the recipes that I looked at for homunculi all said that after you do this part of it, you're supposed to stick it in a dung pile. All the other recipes, but all of these YouTube videos that I have seen, there's been no dung pile involved. They put it in like a little Tupperware container for 10 days. So maybe the dung pile is just maybe medieval BC years. I was going to say maybe when Jesus came back, he changed the law or fulfilled the law and no longer had to soak our chicken eggs in dung piles, but this was later than that. Anyway, so then they just crack the egg open and there's all the yolk and inkiness, but there's something in there. What is that? And then, yep, weekly live streams back in action. Just, I don't like the format because I like my own channel art, but I'll work with what I can just so I can hang out with you guys and bring you this sort of weirdness where. Oh, and it moves. All right, hold on. We're going to pause here for a second because there's some things to talk about. There are some things to go over. So pause right there. And, okay, so this is, when you read the comments, you're like, talking about what's causing that to move, and the main thing that and what I think this video is, and the original as well, is magnets. It's magnetism. Anyway, they're like, oh well, how could you get that inside that tiny hole of the egg? This doesn't have to be the same egg, and the tape gives you a way to get that in that into that tiny hole. The tape, because this is not the same egg. Just you cut the top off the egg, or crack the top off the egg even. Go ahead and put your little magnet creature which is, I believe it's usually, I want to say they're made of some kind of sculpting material, but this one may have been more like a latex and then covered with egg gunk. But I've seen other people use different things. We'll talk about that in a minute. But then they put the tape on it, so you can put the tape right over where you cracked it open, and put and seal it back up, and it looks just like the one that you pretended that you were going to use the whole time, the one that you poked the hole in it and did the injection. Too early in the morning for injecting seed. But here we are, 9:50. Oh man, it's not that early. It's 10:51 there. It's almost 11 o'clock. It's plenty late enough for seed. If you've never been injected with seed at 11 a.m. in the morning, then are you even living? I'm not shaming anybody for anything. Just teasing you, Amanda. But anyway, let's get back to this creature, because this is the fun part of the video, and we're just at the last minute or so, which is really where all the action is. So, okay, so we saw it moving. It's on this table. There's the same kind of tools that I use to corral my arthropods. Negative side of the magnet, pushing it away. Positive side of the magnet, pulling it in. And I think the bigger tool might have a magnet in it, the big brush. He's going to touch it. If that was like a real thing, would you touch it? It has 4 appendages. See, I think it almost seems like it's like just a clay. This hasn't even been set up, because the way it stretches, so like it's almost doughy in that way. But yeah, I think that there's like a magnet in the head. Now that guy who did the original one, he smashed his as a book at this point in this development. But hold on, we are going to watch another one, but I'm going to pull this one down from the screen for a minute. So what did you think of that one? Was that compelling, or do you think that it looked like what I said, like a little sculpey creature, just crudely put together? It didn't look like they put much into it at all, into the structure of it. Just kind of let it be what it was. Yeah, here's the original. This is the guy who started it all. Hold on, we're gonna. It's got this one's got subtitles, so we will, because he's in Russian. Let me share. And we'll go out here and hello. Today we are going to do an experiment creating a homunculus. A homunculus is an artificial creature. The creation of a homunculus described in medieval treaties by scientists. I didn't catch his name. Go back. Let me go back. Sorry, I was busy popping through the screens and didn't catch the name. Oh. Paracelsus. So we need a container, a plastic container. Yeah, like this is kind of where we lose the dung pile, because everybody follows this guy. And, semen fluid and egg. No dung pile. Whole egg. Poke the hole in it. We have Different people are using different tools to poke the hole in the egg. But I don't know. I'm going to speed this up a little bit. See if we can't. Because there's no sense in keeping it at normal speed. The smaller you make the hole, the better the chance of success. Oh, yes, they're all. This video is going to be, or this topic is going to be me and chowder heavy, because that's what homunculuses are made of. So, Pale Blue Mama, you're just going to have to deal with my mules full of semen, because if we ever end up as roommates, like we were talking about, I'm going to get a whole army of little homunculuses that I'm trained to clean the house for me. So this is going to have to be something that we have around regularly. I don't know how long they live, what their lifespan is. I don't know much about them at all. Their ecology. In the container. Wiping up his, I don't know if that's egg or his fluids. He's putting it inside his beanie. So, let's recap. I'm just going to mute him. There's no sense in having him talking. I can't speak Russian anyway. So far we have an egg injected with semen, stuffed inside, or put inside a Tupperware, and then stuffed inside of a beanie. All right, and now he's opening it up. It rotted. A pleasant smell, I bet. Yeah. Kind of opened an egg up, and a small rotting is acceptable, but yeah, I don't know. Because homunculus is like a little infection and bacteria. You're making me miss my giant tweezers there, dude. Can't wait to get my giant tweezers. Yeah, and his looks a little different. He is still alive. What do you guys think of this one? I don't think that this one's magnets. I think some of the later ones he does are done with that, but it might be, though. I don't know. What did you all think of that one? So that was November, 2015. So all this stuff came into my feed around that time. It was like, or like maybe the following autumn. So maybe it'd been around a year. But this is making homunculus. Lots of people have done it. You got different people performing the experiment. Oh, this guy uses a little fishy, it looks like. Yeah. Let's hear as he sees speaking Russian too, I think.
Ребята, вам не видно хорошо? Посмотрите, какое существо.
Yeah. That's a fish. You can tell by its structure. It's a ray fin fish. I can tell by its ray fins. And yeah, and that duck wants to eat it. Mm-hmm. You let your duck eat your offspring, you monster. I skipped the needle full of jizz part, though, Amanda, so there's that. Let's see. Do we have any more of these that are worth watching? Mm-mm-mm. Here's what we'll do. I'm going to go back to the list because I wanted to find the one where he smashes it. This is this the original one? Maybe this one is. He even uses the beady. This is the 5th experiment. But the homunculus died quickly. He's just sterilizing, which good. Yeah, sterilizing is important. Doing any kind of medical procedure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's this one where it spits something on him. We'll get there in a second, though. Make a hole in the egg. This is there you go. There's your favorite part, Amanda. Get that baby juice all up in it. Ooh, it's overflowing. He just cream pied that egg. Oh, sorry. That was disgusting. I didn't mean to go there. Why doesn't he use a regular poker for when you boil eggs, you make the hole? I don't know why they use what they use. I don't know why they use tape instead of putting because super glue is literally made for sealing up. Initially, that was its original use was for closing gaps like that. Used medically, so super glue's sterile for that. Because it looks good, he just said. It smells. Let's look inside. I'm going to slow it down because this. Where are you? There you are. We're going to go back to normal speed. Let's turn some sound on because I think it might hiss. This is the original one. Sorry, the other one I just watched was the original.
Здесь есть такое отверстие, вроде бы это похоже на рот. Отверстие в задней части тела я не вижу. Ну, возможно, это что-то на вроде кишечно-полостных животных. Ну, таковы мне нравятся.
Jellyfish like sea anemones. Colintala? I don't know how he thinks that's what that is, but I hope it's moving.
Движение появилось. Похоже, он пришел в себя.
He's alive.
Любопытно. Блядь!
Oh, spit on him. Mashed it with his butt.
Ну, теперь точно. Его так сильно раздавил.
I crushed him too hard. You think so? What is this organ? No, it's impossible to understand. Yeah, because you smashed it with a book. He sprayed something at me. Now there is one.
вот куда попала его жидкость, становились такие светлые пятна, как будто бы ткань отбеливается или что, возможно, кислота. Ну, руку, по крайней мере, не жжет. Ну что ж, мы можем сказать, что гомункулы могут иметь.
Really deep into the weeds with these because this thing, it grows into, and like I said, there's like dozens of videos. It grows into this thing.
К сожалению, с гомункулами никаких изменений не произошло. Гомункул в яйце продолжает развиваться, и я надеюсь, что он сможет вылупиться сам. Я продолжаю ждать. А про этого гомункула я решил снять видео. Я хочу вам продемонстрировать напряжение, которое этот гомункул вырабатывает. Будем измерять прибор. Сам я это уже измерял, теперь хочу показать это.
Yeah, you can see if it moves a little bit when they. It's like a sculpture. There's at some point I think it grows eyes. Where are the eyes at, dude? Hold on, let's see if. That's a different creator. Let's go to this guy's main channel. Let's see if we can't. Hard to believe they didn't incorporate a bear native atheist. Yeah, they use different methods, Cadence, to. It depends on how they're displaying it. A lot of this is it's like puppetry tricks and stuff. So they stopped. I think this guy stopped. Yeah, uploading like 4 years ago. Where does it get the eye at? That's what I want to know. I think it was back further. I think it became that thing later on. Yeah, because it was like a starfish with an eye. Yeah, here's a couple of them. He has a lot of fun with it, I think.
Привет, с вами Камиль. Это мои гомункулы, как вы видите, я поместил их в один аквариум. Я откладывал это, потому что у паука, как вы помните, появился глаз. Я думал, что может быть изменения еще какие-то появятся.
This one looks like a...
Тоже ничего не происходит. Поэтому я решил, что пора их заместить в один случай, посмотреть, что из этого получится. Гомункулы, как вы видите, практически не изменились, может быть, лишь чуть-чуть отросли. У меня даже при сомнении, стоит ли снимать это видео, гомункулы точно такие же, как и были. Но все-таки такое событие, как помещение его сосуд, мне показалось, что видео снять можно.
So he is he's got these two different homunculi. One of them's sculpted like a bottle, and the other one's like a starfish. But I think they both started off like a starfish, or the big one started off like a starfish too. Anyway, I'm trying to find the one where it zooms in on its eye, because that's the weird one. Since I can't. Oh, here's what homunculus started. Okay. Homunculus 5. And yeah. It's a fun little, I don't know what you'd call it, a prank. There we go. There's no mouse here. It has a regular shape compared to the starfish. As it grew, I intended to place two homunculi in one vessel, so I bought a small aquarium. Anyway, so yeah, that's this is where it all started with this guy doing, allegedly found this alchemy tomb or medieval manuscript that explained how to do this experiment, and he created a homunculi or homunculus and made these little videos where he did all these different things with it in order to attract viewers, and it's fun. It was a fun little adventure when I went on it back in 2016 or whatever. But no, this is not a real thing that can be done. There's not. You pull better homunculi out of your nose, Theo. I believe you. Anyway, yes, it's if this tomb exists, I'd like to be able to see it, or if it's just a scroll or manuscript or whatever. I'd love to dive into it. You're growing 2 homunculi for dinner, nerdy? All right, I will be over at 6. Okay, so that's about an hour. You don't have much time, do you? Where are you, nerdy? All right, so that was the topic for Cryptic Corner, growing your own homunculus. So if you ever wanted to know how that could be done, or how that could be claimed to be done, yeah, there it is. So you take yourself a chicken egg, you take yourself a syringe of your juices, it's got to be man juices, or I guess it'd be a lady juice for me, wouldn't it? Anyway, and you poke a hole in the egg, you inject your seed into the egg, you tape it up, you put it in a Tupperware container, you wrap it in a beanie, not in a dung pile like the ancients would have done, and then or in some wrap it in dung or whatever. You don't do that with these. Instead, you just leave it there for like 10 days, and then you open it up, and there's a little Play-Doh starfish inside that wiggles around. And if you put the Play-Doh starfish into some water, it'll grow into a starfish with an eye in the middle of it. And if you leave it in the water a little bit longer, it'll grow into a volcano that filter feeds, I guess. Anyway, right, so this is supposed to be what a human chicken hybrid looks like. So why wouldn't a human chicken hybrid be a starfish? Why wouldn't it be radial instead of bilateral like humans and chickens are? Because we're bilateral. One side, 2 side, bilateral, all the way down. Obviously, we're not perfectly bilateral, but our growth is bilateral. Starfish are radial. They go out from the middle in directions. Mostly 5 directions is what people think when they think of starfish, but it can go more directions than that. Sea stars go all different directions. So, why would our offspring, chicken, human, be anything other than bilateral? It doesn't make any sense to me. There's nowhere in our development where, as far as I know, I guess you could say that in our deuterostome, tiny little floating butthole stage, we are radial, but for the most part, we're not. But anyway, thank you for hanging out in Cryptic Corner with me this morning. We are going to move on now to our next topic of the day. So, farewell, homunculus, and we are going to visit a channel for Creation Watch that I haven't really delved into much, mostly because I think he's an idiot. I'm not going to be friendly about it at all. Ray Comfort is the most incredulous I think purposely incredulous apologists that I can think of off the top of my head, and people who follow in his footsteps and use his methodology. We're going to see that in today's video, but we're also going to see, because people are like, oh, Ray Comfort is, he's not the sharpest. He's a nice guy. He's nice. He's a friendly individual, and it's okay to interact with him. No. Ray Comfort is a blatant homophobe, gross individual. So we are going to go into a video that they just released here on, what's the date? I think it was the 26th. Anyway, Living Waters is his thing. So yeah, let's dive into that. So okay, so this is Living Waters. That's Ray Comfort's ministry or whatever. And okay, so let's see what. Yeah, he's a blatant liar, Dr. Osiris. Absolutely, he is. He's a deceptive editor, and we're going to see that in this video as well. So here we go.
Monkeypox today puts this disease in the same category as COVID-19 and polio.
It is the latest virus spreading across the United States.
To be clear, this is it's an opening of newsreels when this first hit the scene. I think it was in May when we had this outbreak. And we're going to talk about that too. So.
The exploding case count has doctors expressing serious concerns.
In New York City, vaccine eligibility is limited. Only men who have sex with men or anyone with multiple or anonymous sex partners in the last 2 weeks.
See, the reporting on this was a little, and again, we'll talk about that too, but only men who have men or anyone with multiple or anonymous sex partners in the last 2 weeks. I think that this part probably would have been sufficient for this report because, okay, to clarify, the monkeypox is no more susceptible in the gay community than it is in any other community. It just happened that the outbreak took hold in that community. That's where the outbreak was. If it had been in a neighborhood for any other group of people, you wouldn't say, oh, this is like, if it was in a neighborhood that was, especially had a lot of black folks in it, we wouldn't say this is a black disease. That's the same concept that we're talking about here. It just took hold in that community in this little blossoming outbreak. Monkeypox has been around for a long time. This is not a novel disease that's all of a sudden hit the scene. This is something that people deal with in Africa pretty regularly. It's in our area, it was more cowpox that was the outbreak situation, and then of course there's other poxes as well, but they're all in the same family. Smallpoxes in this family too, and it's spread through skin to skin contact. Anytime mucous membrane comes in contact, like kissing, but like with sexual contact and with any like wounds or anything that you touch, you can contract it that way. And it took hold just it was like in a nightclub. I'm sure it was a naughty nightclub or whatever, but that just was the circumstances that it was in. It wasn't because the disease is especially susceptible to homosexuals. It's the fact that the outbreak happened there. That's all. It wasn't. That's the link. But we're gonna get into that in a minute. There's the reporting on this was awful and really made a terrible case.
can get the shot according to the health department.
An advisor to the WHO telling the Associated Press the leading theory to explain the current spread of the disease appears to be transmission among gay and bisexual men at 2 raids held in Spain and Belgium.
There's a big dilemma for the liberal media when it comes to this disease. They've been pro-gay for years, but they can't say this is not a gay disease because the homosexual community needs to be alerted that this is.
It's not a gay disease. No, it's a disease that has been around for a long time and has never just targeted gay and bisexual individuals. It's never been the case. It is obviously more susceptible for anybody who engages in anal intercourse, but that's in no way the exclusive property of the homosexual community in any way, shape, or form. It's something that is practiced very commonly in heterosexual relationships as well. I promise. I would say, I don't want to call anybody out, but I would say the majority of heterosexual relationships have at least explored the idea and the concept of what Ray would call sodomy. So, no, non-exclusive gay disease. You could say, if you wanted to be disingenuous about it, you could call it a butt sex disease, but that doesn't make it gay. Just because the chances of lesions or anything arising in that situation with anal sex is higher. Not because not because it's taking hold in this population because of their vice or sin, like Ray's about to tell us.
If you look at the numbers, the overwhelming proportion of people who have been infected are men who have sex with men.
According to the CDC, 99%.
You're making a correlation causation based on these little clips. And you're kind of being disingenuous what he's saying. He's not saying that this is going to be mainly affecting these people. He's saying that the population or the community that this took hold in just happened to be this homosexual community. Not that it is especially susceptible to gay individuals. That's not what what the doctors are saying, and that is what the way that it's reported, though, which is a problem. But yeah,
Percent of those who've tested positive for monkeypox identify as men who have sex with other men.
There's a lot of stigma and discrimination that surrounds many diseases. While, for example, we're seeing some cases amongst men who have sex with men, this is not a gay disease.
But at the same time, they don't want Christians saying homosexuality is a sin and pointing to Romans 1:27 as they did in the 1980s during the AIDS epidemic.
right. During the AIDS epidemic, when another situation with a sexually transmitted disease that's not exclusive to the homosexual community, that took hold within the homosexual community, that was attributed to them thereafter. I think those numbers, if you look at it now, because that's just the population where we happen to have the outbreak in. It doesn't mean that it's an exclusive to that population. Again, that's like having a disease that takes hold and has an outbreak within, for instance, like an Asian community, like our COVID-19. It does not mean that it's an Asian disease or the Chinese virus or the Wuhan flu or any of that stuff. The disease does not discriminate. It doesn't care if the people who contracted COVID first were Asian. It doesn't care. The virus doesn't care. HIV didn't care that it was homosexuals that it managed to sneak into the community and get and start to spread and propagate. The virus doesn't care what type of community you're in. It just cares that it can. And I say cares in the most simple way possible, because viruses' only goal in existence is to reproduce and duplicate themselves and propagate themselves. So that's all it wants to be able to do. So yeah, it takes hold into this population. It does not mean that it is a disease of that population. This is disingenuous at best, and dangerous way to present this topic.
Which, according to the CDC, took the lives of 330,000 gay men just in the US. HBO aired a movie recently that documented what took place.
I think it's this virus, AIDS. There are boys dying all over the world from sex.
Don't be ridiculous. That would be all over the news.
The government knows all about it.
I'm not watching this trailer, dude.
Do you think that
This is one of the most painful things I've ever gone through in my life. I got some really cruel
This is one of the
DMs
people
and
that
comments, messages from people. There were a few comments that referenced that maybe this was like God's punishment in some way to like gay men, which kind of echoes some sentiments that we saw during the HIV epidemic.
This is the verse in the book of Romans that's often quoted by Christians, saying not only that homosexuality is a sin, but pointing out the warning that it will result in disease.
For this cause, God gave them up unto vile affections, for even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. And likewise, also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one toward another, men with men, working that which is unseemly, and receiving themselves that we come up in of their error, which was meat. Okay, so 27 here, or 26 through 27 here. Okay, and is this Romans?
And in the same way, also the men turned away from the natural function of the woman and were consumed with their desire towards one another, men with men committing shameful acts. And
I think that, and I'm getting this information from Cyrus when he did his Marjorie Taylor Greene video the other day. Cyrus the Skeptic. It's a bigger YouTube channel that I watch. I actually hosted an episode of the Perspective with him, if you want to go back and watch that. But Cyrus was talking about this verse the other day when he was responding to his Marjorie Taylor Greene comments about monkeypox, and he said that the verse, the terminology translated to homosexual here, or men laying with men, was the term used in the Hebrew for pederasty. So it's admonishing, pederasty, or where men would take like a young boy and mentor him and use him in that way, whether he consented or not. It was a pretty gross practice. It was common in most of the ancient Mediterranean area. Culturally, it's been documented, and it's funny that we're talking about. I shouldn't say it's funny that we're talking about monkeypox here and apes, because I was just telling scientist Mel the other day. I'm going to go on a tangent here. That Titus, this is the girl that it comes down to. Titus was this big girl that lived in Congo, and he was the alpha, the silverback of this troop, but he got ousted, so he went and started his own troop of bachelor males that kind of just they lived like that for 8 years, and they were like they had gay sex. It was they bonded in like a regular gorilla troop, except for it was all gay males. It's kind of endearing. So it's very, that's, it's our natural state as a primate to have homosexuality as a portion of our population.
Return receiving in their own bodies the inevitable and appropriate penalty for their wrongdoing. There is no way anyone can call themselves Christian and yet hate gay people. Look at the verse that follows, 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 9 through 10. Do not be deceived, neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor homosexuals, nor sodomites, nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor extortioners will inherit the kingdom of God.
Let's see here. I love being lumped together with idolaters. So idolaters is probably the most inconspicuous of any of the things on here. That just means that you're like, oh, I like that. Not something about a musician or a band or a movie franchise. Or I'm sure Ray Comfort would call people who are really into Marvel comics idolaters for... or the MCU, or people who are really into Star Wars idolaters. Adulterers, now that's violating someone's consent, right? I mean, an adulterer, you've made an agreement with a partner to be open and loyal to one another. Assumingly, if you're an adulterer, that's what it means. You've made that commitment to the point of contracting, and if it's an adulterer, because you've entered into a marital contract saying that you're going to be partners, right? So then that's violating someone's consent who you've already acquiesced yourself, making sure you're. I mean, and you don't enter into that contract if that's what you want to do, because you're just end up hurting people. But then you got homosexuals, which is just people who have same-sex attraction. I don't know. They didn't do anything. They didn't idolize somebody else. They didn't violate someone else's personal. What do you call that? It's calling it consent. It's a little off because you're using your own body, so you're not. But for having that arrangement with your partner, you've betrayed their trust at the very least. Sodomites, so yeah, that's anybody who has engaged in. The sodomy is not just the anal sex like they like to talk about when it comes to homosexual. It also includes oral sex and other forms of foreplay, and I guess fornicators up there at the top covers all that. So sodomites and fornicators. Fornicators just means that it's the same thing, except for you're engaging in sexual in actual sexual intercourse. Vaginal intercourse, I believe, is required for it to be called fornication. Thieves. So then we come out of left field with thieves, with someone who's actually stealing somebody else's property. So it's not we're not lumping homosexuals just into a group with people who betray their partners. And again, I don't believe that idolaters, fornicators, or sodomites belong on this list at all. Nor do covetous doesn't really belong on this list, unless if for some reason that Ray hates Western society because it's built on coveting what the neighbor has. It's what keeps innovation going. We want better. Each group wants better than the neighbors. So keep building up drunkards. Alcoholism is a disease as well, and to turn your back on them, someone who's struggling with a mental health disease, because that's what any addiction is. Your God turning his back on them is cruel. Now, this is just the same thing in same message in Corinthians. Revilers, I'm not even sure what that means. If they do reviled acts, I guess. Nor extortioners. Yeah, I don't agree with extortion either. I think that your church is an extortioner, so I think that you're an extortioner. So I don't know if you're getting into the kingdom of heaven, Ray. Oh goodness. Okay, so sorry, tangent. Let's move on. Okay.
God, and such were some of you. None of us can point a holier-than-thou finger at anyone. We should instead show that we love homosexuals by reaching out with the gospel. And there's a way to do this lovingly and without compromise, as you'll see from these two witnessing clips as I share the gospel with a couple of very likable homosexuals.
Very likable homosexuals. He's really cringy about that, about likable homosexuals. What he does to these guys is super gross.
Do you think people are born gay?
Yes, it's not something that I guess you can develop into being or turn into being. It's not something where you just see something and you automatically become gay. You just feel it on the inside.
Are you gay?
Yes, I am, yes.
Are you familiar with American colloquialisms?
Yes.
Are you familiar with God only knows? I've heard people say that they can't find their car keys. No one can find them, and someone says, oh, God only knows where they are, whether or not they mean it. They're meaning that God knows everything. Do you believe that?
Oh yeah, I believe that.
So he did find I believe this gentleman with the sunglasses here is Catholic. I think he says that here in a minute. But so yeah, obviously the answers that he gives are going to be different than what Bree would give. I think the other guy is he sounds like he's an agnostic or deist maybe. But then again, he does mention Christ, so he might be a Christian. So he's already talking to Christians here. He's not engaging with non-believers here. He's engaging with other Christians.
Yeah, most people don't realize God knows how many hairs are on their head. He knows the thoughts of the heart. The Bible says He knows when a leaf will fall.
But I don't believe this stuff. I don't believe that there's a God to know these things. I do think, unfortunately, that pretty much everything that happens and everything we say and do and every motion of the universe was predetermined at least at the point of singularity. But I don't think that there's a mind behind that.
So how does that make you feel to think that God knows everything about you? He knows your secret thoughts. He sees darkness as pure light. Knows how many hairs are on your head. He sees everything you've ever done. How does that make you feel?
Special.
Special?
Yeah, that somebody knows that much about me.
Yeah, well, he knows the atoms that make up your brain. Every single atom, because he made the atom that makes up the brain. He knows the thoughts of the heart. Are you doing anything or thinking anything that could displease God?
Possibly. I think so. Yeah.
I think that is also God violating our consent. Just because you create a life doesn't mean you get to peer inside of their head and invade their personal, like their brain. I mean, you talk about personal space, invading someone's brain, and looking at what they're thinking. That's none of your damn business. I don't care if you made me or not. What's going on in here is not for you to decide, or not for you to see. It's my own private thoughts. Why do people want to praise a being that violates them so much?
Yeah. If I double question myself.
You listen to the voice of your conscience?
Pretty much, yeah.
Although you can dull your conscience, it can be like a smoke detector. You can take the batteries out because you don't want it to alarm you, which is a dumb thing to do, especially if there's a...
He uses the weirdest cutaways, just like a battery rolling out there. So bizarre. And what he's doing is he's filling in, because what the gentleman is saying, what our interviewees are saying, and what Ray is asking isn't always actually what the answer was to the question that he asked, or could be the answer to another question, could be just part of the answer that they gave. So putting these little cutaway things in here gives Ray the chance to edit out the person saying something that doesn't fit the narrative that he's trying to sell.
Why, if you're in danger and your smoke detectors had the batteries taken out. Same with the conscience. Always had desires for guys and not girls?
Yes.
Are you a spiritual person?
Yes, I go to church every Sunday. I'm Catholic, so
he's the one that's
raised
Catholic.
under that roof, it was really hard because my parents weren't as accepting. And even though I went to Catholic school and I went to Bible study, it was really hard for myself to accept myself because I knew what the Bible said.
So what does the Bible say?
that gays go to hell and that they shouldn't be accepted and that we're just all gonna burn in hell.
Now you don't believe that.
Well, but if you follow what Ray just put up on the screen there, he's going to hell too. He's what was the word? He wasn't back that far. What was it? We gave the list of different extortioners. That's what Ray is, an extortioner. So he's not going either. He's listed specifically.
No, I don't.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be gay.
Obvious. Well, I mean, I feel like I would still be, but I think religion is different than spirituality. Spirituality is something that you feel with God, and that's your relationship with God.
Now you said people are born gay. Do you think people are born adulterers?
No, because people aren't even to say you're born gay is kind of because generally until you reach a certain age, you don't have or understand sexual attraction. So let's not put those attributes on kids. I don't like the concept of people being born gay or straight. You aren't born with a sexuality. Your sexuality develops, but you're not making choices of how it develops, but it develops later on. So it's not something that's not really a terminology that I agree with, saying you're born gay. You're born this way because you're born to develop to that. You're born to a point that when you develop sexuality, you're going to be gay or straight or pan or bi or whatever, but you're not that when you're a child.
Adulterers?
With the desire to commit adultery.
And adultery is that's a problem of boundaries and setting. That's what I was looking for earlier, and I couldn't think of that. And I kept saying violating a set. No, you're violating a boundary that was set in a relationship. That's what adultery is. So, are you born with the desire to violate other people's boundaries? Yeah, I think we all are. I think we are all born with the desire to violate other people's boundaries if it benefits us. And we have to work as individuals to resist those urges to violate those boundaries because we live in a society where we have to be respectful of the people around us and think about how best to treat one another and to engage with one another in order to keep society happy and healthy.
Are they born fornicators? With the desire to fornicate with a girl?
Yes, that develops. Your sexuality develops when you're mature. Not necessarily with girls. You can be to fornicate with whoever, to fornicate with everybody. You can have that desire. That's how I was when I was a kid. Not as a kid, when I was going through puberty, but obviously the only socially acceptable option was to be that way towards females. But I was attracted to both males and females as a sexually maturing individual. So yeah, I didn't want to fornicate and engage in that because that is our instinct. That's why our species reproduces, is because we have that desire. You don't want to get rid of that desire. This is a weird argument coming from somebody who probably supports that everybody gets married and has 2.5 kids, right?
I was. From the moment I can remember, I wanted to be with a pretty girl.
Well, I mean, yeah, like you're born into like what you like.
Could that be the case with homosexuality? That it's just part of our sinful desire, like we want to fornicate, want to lie, steal, want to commit adultery, want to do things that are wrong, but just because we want to do them doesn't make it right.
And just because, and again, when you talk about adultery, you're just lumping that together. Anybody who's in a relationship who has sex with somebody who's not part of that relationship is an adulterer to you, or a marriage even. That's not always the case, though, because if there's a consent to that relationship, to that polyamory, then you're fine. There's no problem there as long as the boundaries are known that, hey, this is a partner that I'm going to take, and I'm still going to be in this relationship with you. As long as those boundaries are established, there's no problem there. You're pretending that it's objectively wrong. It's not. It depends on the situation. As long as you're not betraying someone.
I didn't know if you're pleasing God is to look to his moral law, the Ten Commandments.
Yeah.
Now, you're familiar with those?
Yes, I am.
Because they're written on your heart by your conscience. How about
the Ten Commandments are written on our heart, but they can't even decide which ones are the Ten Commandments, or if there's only 10 commandments, because sometimes there's 13, but then there's 11. And I believe that there was 1.72. So there's a lot of commandments out there. I think essentially, isn't the entire book of Leviticus commandments for us to follow, laws for us to follow as handed down from Moses? Isn't that, maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe I'm misremembering.
First commandment, if you've broken that, I am the Lord your God, you shall have no other gods before me, which means God should be the focal point of our affections. Do you love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength?
I don't even believe in God with any of that stuff. I don't believe that you can love somebody with all your heart, because your heart is just a specialized muscle tissue for pumping blood through your veins and arteries throughout the rest of your body to provide oxygen and other waste disposal and things like that nature. So I don't believe your heart actually has control over that. I think most of that takes place up in the noggin here. But yeah, I think that's probably where God lives too. It's up in your head, Ray.
Possibly not all four, but I strive for it.
Boy, I know I didn't. Before I was a Christian, I came behind a car once and I had a God First sticker on the back. I couldn't wait to get past it because I knew God wasn't first in my affections. I love so many things more than I love God.
Me too, yeah. If you have kids and you say that you love this imaginary being more than your kid, you're a bad parent. I mean, that's my opinion, of course. I'm not. I'm not saying that everybody should agree with me on that, but that's just how I feel about raising children. That if you're putting something like that before your own offspring.
What about the ninth commandment? You shall not be a false witness. How many lies do you think you've told in your life?
Plenty.
You know the Bible verse in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 9 and 10? Do not be deceived. Neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor homosexuals, nor sodomites, nor thieves, nor covetous will inherit the kingdom of God. Now, I don't know if you've noticed it.
He leaves out the extortioners there, because he didn't want to put himself on that list.
You've been to Bible study, but the second sin among those three sexual sins is idolatry. Do you know what idolatry is?
No.
It's where you make up your own God. So it says, do not be deceived, neither fornicators, idolaters, adulterers, or homosexuals inherit the kingdom of God. And while we do, by nature, it comes natural to us, as we create a God we're happy with. A God that doesn't mind lying or stealing.
We create a God that we're happy with. All right, so you're going to accuse this gentleman of the no true Christian fallacy. Or you're going to hit him with a no true Christian fallacy, I should say. Because you're going to say, because you think that this interpretation of the Bible, that you think my interpretation of the Bible is wrong and that it's not actually condemning homosexuality, then you're not a real Christian. That's just your opinion, Ray, because the term, the words used there translated from Hebrew. In the Hebrew language, the word used for homosexuality is the same word for pederasty. So it's talking about not engaging in condemning that act. But it doesn't really matter because the book is just written by an ancient patriarchy to the whole Old Testament, the whole freaking however many books of it. It's all written as a origins myth, then the majority of it, like 80% of it, is making concrete and solidifying the rights of the Israelites to the land of Canaan. It's an entire library dedicated to confirming and reaffirming that the Canaanites don't have rights to the land of Israel that the Israelites do, and telling that narrative over and over again, and someone else challenges it, or they make God mad, and he lets another group come in and conquer Israelites and drive them out of the land of Israel, and they plead for him to forgive them, and he reels it back, and they come back and take Israel back, and all these different prophets and characters from the Bible that take place in this cycle over and over again of Israel loves Yahweh, Israel forgets Yahweh, Israel conquered, Yahweh saves Israel, Israel praises Yahweh, Israel forgets Yahweh, Israel takes another god, Israel. It's just over and over again. It's the cycle of the Old Testament. So it's just a book that ancient people wrote to confirm that they have rights to the land that they're living on. That's the majority of the Bible. So I'm not going to put a lot of stock into what these gentlemen, whose main interest was property rights, think about who I take as a partner and why I take them as a partner, and what their imaginary friend thinks of me taking that person as a partner.
Dealing or adultery or fornication or homosexuality, a God that's a figment of our imagination, a place of imagery, it's a false image. It's actually a violation of the first and the second of the Ten Commandments, which says, you shall have no other gods before me, don't make yourself a graven image.
You think I made my own God? So,
Yeah, what do you think?
Spirituality is something that you feel with God, and that's your relationship with God. I don't think I make my own God. I mean,
So is he saying that him having his own relationship with God means he's making his own God? Isn't that what Christianity is supposed to be, as a relationship with God?
Like, I guess I would follow. I follow the Ten Commandments. I mean, I don't steal, I don't cheat, I don't kill.
Well, let's back up. Have you ever lied in your life?
Yeah.
You're definitely a liar, Ray. So why are we trusting you?
Look at that one. Have you ever taken something that belongs to somebody else, even if it's small, in your whole life, irrespective of its value?
Yes.
Have you ever used God's name in vain?
Yes.
Have you always honored your parents?
Yes.
But you've been
I love this gentleman's eyelashes, though. I love your eyelashes.
lying thief, so that's dishonoring a good name. Have you ever stolen something?
Nothing too grand.
Just like a little diamond ring or something?
Yeah, something like that.
We tend to trivialize that, but if you open my wallet,
I think that this guy, once he realized kind of where Ray was going with the homosexuality thing, he started laying it on a little thicker, because you noticed that the little camp gay things that he was doing kind of increased once he realized that Ray was going to be targeting his homosexuality.
and you only took out $1, you're as much a thief as if you took out $100. Can you see that?
Yes.
The value of that which we steal is irrelevant. Have you ever used God's name in vain?
I have before.
Do you know what it's called?
Blasphemy.
Yeah, it's using God's name as a cuss word. Would you use your mother's name as a cuss word?
No.
Because that would dishonor her, and yet we dishonor God and incur his wrath. The Bible says the Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain. Hey, I appreciate your patience with me. And Jesus said, if you
See, and there was a jump cut right there. Who knows what was said in between there? We don't know, because Ray cuts these things. When he keeps in the part that makes it sound like the conversation went in his favor, you'll never see a conversation where someone dunks on Ray. You'll never see that. He doesn't ever come out looking like a fool at the end of any of his conversations. I talked to him. He would cut it so it made it look like I was ignorant about these topics. He would find a way to edit what I've said and what my responses are, and make it look like I didn't know what I was talking about, or that I agreed with him in the end, or that he convinced me. He literally has another video, the one that actually got me onto this channel when I first started looking through his stuff, with there's a few college professors, but PZ's on there as well, where he cuts it and edits it to make it look like their responses are dumb, or that he stumps them. It's just bad. It's just bad editing. It's Matt Powell does it, or has done it to me and to some of my friends. Ray did it tried to do it to Godless Engineer. I don't think it worked out too well for his favor, because he didn't really beat that drum too much. But anyway, we're about 10 minutes into this video. It's sort of 16.5-minute video.
If you look at a woman and lust for her, you commit adultery with her in your heart. Have you ever looked at a woman with lust?
Not a woman.
So you're homosexual?
Yes.
You look with lust?
Yes.
So here's a quick summation. I'm not judging you, but you've just told me you're a lying thief.
I think he has somebody off over here to the left. He's having a good laugh about these questions with, because he keeps looking off over there and laughing.
A blasphemer and an adulterer at heart. So if God judges you by the 10 Commandments on Judgment Day,
again, adultery's in the brain, not in the heart. It's the heart's just a muscle. But I know I say I love you with all my heart and things like that too. But when we're talking philosophical stuff like what Ray's trying to talk about here, we need to use the proper terminology, and that's an interaction that's happening in the brain. Is what adultery is. It is, again, it's crossing boundaries.
you're going to be innocent or guilty.
Guilty.
Heaven or hell.
Well, I mean, if I repent and I feel like I actually am sorry, then yes, I would go to heaven.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
The Bible says that's not true. Let me tell you why, and it'll make sense to you. If I'm standing in front of a judge and I'm guilty of rape and murder, very serious crimes,
Okay, he's going to compare. Let's be clear here. He's going to compare homosexuality with rape and murder.
Say to the judge, Judge, I'm really sorry and I won't do it again, which is what repentance is, sorrow and not wanting to do it again. Will he let me go? Of course not, because he's bound by the law. He can't let someone go because they're sorry. Of course we should be sorry. And of course we shouldn't do it again. So repentance can't help you on the day of judgment. There's something else you need. You know what it is? You know what death is according to the Bible?
He's going to say that what it is he's going to bring it up here is Jesus. But, Jesus never really talked anything about homosexuality. People claim he did, but it was really Paul. That anything in the New Testament about homosexuality that's referencing, they're referencing Pauline writings. So, yeah, it's not Jesus who said those things. But we'll see because Jesus allegedly fulfilled the law. So, that's why Christians can eat shrimp and pork and things like that. So, if that law, because on that same list of things you couldn't do, the mixed fabrics, it's like Leviticus and Corinthians, Anyway, there's Romans. Anyhow, the notion that you couldn't that homosexuality was a sin or whatever was included among those vices in the mythology. So if Jesus fulfilled that law, homosexuality shouldn't. I mean, in the same vein that eating shellfish isn't a sin anymore, right? It should be the same situation.
Bible? No. Wages. The Bible says in Romans 6:23, the wages of sin is death. It's like a judge in a court of law sees a heinous criminal before him, and the judge says, you've earned the electric chair.
I think that's a line that supports annihilationism, because death, annihilationism.
Yeah. You deserve this. This is your wages because of what you've done. God pays us for our sins by death, the death sentence. We don't see sin as being very serious. We think God's happy with us and all is well. But the Bible says his wrath abides on us. And every time we sin, we store up his wrath. The scriptures say all liars will bear part in the lake of fire. Lying lips are an abomination of the Lord. So sin is exceedingly sinful to God, so much so it occurs the death sentence. So death is evidence that God is serious about sin.
Hey, Mark. Good to see you. Thanks for dropping in. Oh, and Bjorn's here too. Good morning. I guess it's good evening there in your neck of the woods.
It should make us serious too, because it takes our breath away, the thought that our life is going to end and we're going to end up under the ground.
I got to agree with that. Apparently the wages of righteousness is death too. Death for everyone. Yeah, we're all going to die. I guess that what he's saying is you won't inherit the kingdom of heaven by death, but if that's annihilationism, fine. I'm on board with that. I'd rather have it be annihilated than the kingdom of heaven anyway. I know that it sounds great to you, just spending all day, all your rest of your existence for all eternity, praising Jesus and God and everything, but I'm not into that. I don't. That's not my kink. I'd rather just go. Just be done. Bye, Bree. It's been nice knowing you. Let's do that instead.
Frightening, the Bible calls death the king of terrors. Now, do you know what God did for guilty sinners so we wouldn't have to go to hell? Any idea?
He gave son.
Well, 2,000 years ago, God became a man, Jesus of Nazareth, and he suffered and died on the cross to take the punishment for the sin of the...
Evidence, please. I mean, yeah, I'm not espousing mythicism. What I'm saying is that you're going to say God became Jesus. I don't believe that. I don't think that there's any evidence for that. And some people might have said it. And he did some. We just watched some people make a homunculus out of a chicken egg. The grift that Jesus was running, if he was a real person, it's not that far fetched. Water into wine and all these party tricks. Not convincing that he's God incarnate. I would expect more effective methods of swaying us, and I would expect the things that he did as a human on Earth with godly powers to do godly things would have left a larger impact on society from that point forward than what we see. I think that it would be documented and be received. There would be, physical evidence that it happened. But there were lots of people, lots of doomsday prophets roaming the little circle of Levant during this time period. Lots of different versions of the next step of Judaism, what writing the next book, and all the way up from way before Jesus all the way up through Muhammad. We have these different prophets preaching their own continuation of the Old Testament. So it's not, Jesus isn't unique in that way, and these other people, these other prophets and figures also did miracles and performed magic and healing and things like that. Hell, Muhammad chopped the moon in half. So it's not unique to have legends about a biblical figure or a figure based on the biblical text and the genealogies within performing miracle feats. It's not unique to Jesus. So you have to make a more compelling argument than this to me.
The world, you probably know that, but you may not understand the legal implications, and it's real important, Daniel. You and I violated God's law, the Ten Commandments. We're guilty criminals heading for God's prison, a place called hell without parole, but Jesus stepped in and paid our fine. If you're in court and someone pays your fine, even though you're guilty, the judge can let you go. He can say, this guy's guilty, stack a speeding fine.
I don't know if he's paying a fine, though. It's more like he's taking the sentence. He's not just forking over. I mean, his sentence is a lot lighter than yours would be, right? He had a bad weekend, 3 days. He's good. However, we will get eternal torment in the lake of fire.
Someone's paid them. He's out of here. And he can do that which is legal and just. Well, God can legally dismiss your case, forgive your sins, let you live forever legally because of that death and resurrection of the Savior. What you and I have to do is repent. You're right about that. But repent and trust in Jesus. It's like turning to a parachute won't save you. You've got to put it on. You've got to put your faith into it. That's what you've got to do with the Savior. Does this make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
If you read the book of Corinthians, it says, do not be deceived. Neither fornicators, nor adulterers, nor homosexuals, nor thieves will inherit the kingdom of God. So you've got to turn from all sin. And then
did you see his face? Is like, look.
Trust in Jesus like you trust a parachute. If you were going to jump out of a plane and you weren't too concerned, you said all is right between me and gravity, the best thing I could do for you would be hanging you out the plane by your ankles just for 2 seconds. You come back in and say, give me that parachute. And what I've tried to do in love and gentleness is hang you out eternity by your ankles just for a minute and say.
He's comparing, I guess, being homosexual to jumping out of an airplane without a parachute. Oh, goodness.
Please come to the Savior. Be born again and trust in Jesus and have assurance of everlasting life and have the sting of death taken from you. And so if you do that, you'll never be the same. You'll be a new person in Christ, loving that which is right rather than that which is wrong, because God's transformed you from the inside. Does this make sense?
Yes.
So if you were to die today and God gave you justice and treated you according to your sins, you'd end up in hell. There are two things you have to do to be saved. You have to turn from all sin, and trust alone in Jesus. When do you think you'll do that?
Actually, I don't know.
Yeah, Ray does have terrible analogies. And again, this guy has amazing makeup. Really like that makeup this kid's wearing. It's really good.
Well, when are you going to die?
I mean, no one really knows when they die.
Well,
So.
God knows, and He knows the minute you're going to die. And you know how many people will die in the next 12 months?
Millions?
54 million people, like you and I. Older people, young people, car accidents, aneurysms, cancer. We're just swept into eternity. So this is so important. Can you see that I care about you?
Yes.
I don't think that you do. I don't think you care about this kid at all. I think if you did, you wouldn't cut his interview up to make it look like you were like you convinced him to reject his whole identity, his whole life, based on your religious ideologies. I don't think that if you cared about him, you would do that to him.
I don't want anyone, and I don't want you to end up in hell. You seem like you're such a nice guy. And so what do you think about this?
Yeah.
You have a Bible at home?
Yes.
There's a man who was very rich. He had a money belt on. It weighed 40 pounds, a sack full of gold, and he fell into the ocean, and he wouldn't take the belt off.
Here's another analogy for you. I know you were just praising Ray's analogies, Mark. So here's another one.
Off because he loved his money. He drowned because he wouldn't let go. That's how we are with our sins. We just don't want to let go. It's insane when God offers us everlasting life that we hold on to our sin. So get before God and say, God.
And say you're holding on to your religion, and it's your religion is your money belt, Ray. That's what's dragging you down. That's why you're drowning.
I'm so wicked, I don't even want to let go of the sins. Would you please help me? And He will. He'll transform you. He'll grant you repentance and acknowledging the truth. So you're going to think about this?
I will think about that.
You have a Bible at home?
I do, yes, I do. I grew up in a Christian home.
And most people did in America. Something went wrong. If you'd like to find out
what went wrong, and to say that most people did, that's really been since, I mean, a lot of people did, especially in the South. But the idea of a Christian nation and that America was all Christian and everything is really took hold in the 1950s after World War II, when it was to be a counterbalance to the godless commies of the Red Scare that followed all the way up to the 80s. That's when we added God into our Pledge of Allegiance, into our national anthem, put it on our money. Now they're putting it on police cars. So yeah, in courthouses.
Did go wrong. Freely listen to Hell's Best Kept Secret on the bottom of the homepage.
That's all we're going to get from that. However, I am not done for the day by any means. Do have some other stuff to cover, but what do you guys think of old Ray Comfort and his presentation of monkeypox and his interview with very likable homosexuals? Because that's what he called them. He's got, oh my goodness, I almost forgot. He does say it again, talking about some different people here.
I'm delighted that you listened to me, and I'm honored that you did, and I really hope you'll do something about it. So, great to meet you.
Likewise, thank you for your words.
This dog's cute.
Sam, make sure you check out the Living Waters podcast and this, the Evidence Study Bible. It's everything I've learned in more than 50 years of reaching out to the lost. It's packed with information on apologetics, cults, evolution, atheism, and much more. Over 1,900 pages, including 200 of the most commonly asked
You're
questions.
descendant from a death cult.
Make sure you check out the
I'm not
stuff.
selling your stuff. I want to use. Here's your 10 Commandments coins.
Available at livingwaters.com. There are two more likable homosexuals.
Two more likable homosexuals.
Right now by clicking out your
Two more likable homosexuals. Like, yeah, Ray, that's a weird thing that you're plugging. Homosexuals left speechless. Right. Anyway, that was Living Waters, Ray Comfort on the monkeypox. So, and homosexuality in general and why it's a sin and all this stuff. But what did you think? What did everybody out there in the YouTube sphere think of old Ray Comfort and his interpretation of monkeypox as God's punishment for homosexuality? What did we think of his interview with two likable homosexuals? Because, I don't think it was compelling. Again, gross. That's a good comment. Gary was convinced. It's that Ray made him a theist. Sorry, we've lost Gary Priestley. Everybody, it's been good having you on our team. I hope that Ray's good to you. All right, so what do we have next? Oh yeah, this is actually something that someone was asking about earlier. So let's do it. We are moving into HiveScience news because recently there's been a change. There's been a change in the name. So I don't know if you remember, it's been a little while ago now. Well, not that long ago. It was back in May, I think. I talked about changing the common name of what used to be called the gypsy moth to the spongy moth because the term gypsy is derogatory and we should not use it. I shouldn't even be saying it, maybe. But Gary was never really an atheist. Check it out. So, murder hornets have a new common name, the northern giant hornet. Murder hornets was never a common name for these, by the way. It was a media name. Media nickname. The common name has always been Asian giant hornets. Worries over rising anti-Asian bias added urgency to picking a new name for Asian giant hornets. And this is one I actually don't agree with, and I'll talk to you about why. But what has been called a murder hornet or Asian giant hornet now has a somewhat official name, maybe kinder name. Meet the northern giant hornet. And that's what the Entomological Society of America, or ESA, announced July 25th as the preferred plain English common name for big, orange, and black Vespa mandarinia. The choice has at least as much to do with people as it does with hornets. It's a celebrity as insects go. It's a celebrity as insects go. By 2019, the species had hitchhiked across the Pacific and was already nesting in Canada, probably also on the U.S. side of the border. News stories exclaimed over hornet queens as long as a human thumb, and the hornets' late summer raiding parties that mass slaughtered whole hives of adult honeybees to steal their chubby larvae as wasp food. The V. mandarinia became the doomsday spirit insect for the start of the COVID-19 times. May 29th, 2020 is the time frame on that. As of late July, there have been no confirmed sightings this year of the hornets in Washington, the state at the center of the buzz in the United States, but trapping efforts are underway. In that innocent early time, the ESA's list of preferred common names didn't have an entry for the species. Murder hornets was way too tabloid. The hornets don't hunt people. Frontline scientists dealing with invaders in the Pacific Northwest took up the name Asian giant hornets. That's not true because we called them Asian giant hornets back in 2006 when I was debating on animal forums. What are you even talking about? They didn't have a common name. They did. Maybe it wasn't on the books with the ESA, but they certainly had the Asian giant hornet common name most places in the world. Yet both Asian and giant troubled Chris Looney of the Washington State Department of Agriculture in Olympia. Asian is at best neutral and uninformative, he wrote when proposing an alternative name to ESA. All 22 species of Vespa hornets have some part of their range in Asia. So mentioning the continent does pretty much nothing to clarify which species is under discussion. At worst, though, connecting Asia and nervous making insect feeds racist fears, Looney argued. He warned about recent rise in hate crimes and their odious behavior directed at Asian people descent in countries, people of Asian descent in countries across the globe. He had heard multiple grumblings about the hornets as another unwelcome thing from China, he said. The current invaders came from elsewhere in Asia. I think Japan was where they came from because of the big Japanico. With such concerns in mind, ESA has launched the Better Common Names Project to fight racism embedded in names. In 2021, this effort led to retirement of a cringy old name for what is now the spongy moth, which we just talked about. Looney urged that a hornet's common name avoiding linkage or linking Asian with a large insect that inspires fear is under eradication. The trouble with just calling it a giant is that other hornets also grow whoppingly big. One, Vespa soros, is mostly subtropical, or I said those Vespa soros like George Soros, Vespa sorer, turned up as a large one hornet surprise in Vancouver in 2019. These hornets grow about the same size as V. mandarinia and also will mass slaughter honeybees. The new name declaration finesses both size and geography based on rough distribution in the native Asian range. V. mandarinia is now the northern giant hornet, and V. sorer is the southern giant hornet. Comparing the native ranges, okay, we have a map that kind of shows. The decision is official in the sense of selection by relevant institution, but ESA can only enforce name usage in its own publications. Other groups may decide to follow ESA rules, but there is no central authority in the free-for-all fizz of common names. A field guide writer can choose among folk traditions and languages, or even just make up names. I ignore common names anyway, says James Carpenter, a hornet specialist at the American Museum of Natural History in New York City. It's an amusing conceit to think that they can be regulated, right? That's my opinion on it too. But what matters to scientists are the Latin names, and ESA's rethink does nothing about the northern giant's formal scientific name, Vespa mandarinia or V. mandarinia. It dates from 1852, and indeed it is a reference to Asia. Yeah, Mandarin specifically, says evolutionary biologist, entomologist Jessica Ware, also at the American Museum of Natural History. She is president of ESA and a strong advocate for better common names. The scientific name, however, follows intricate rule overseen by an international governing body. Making changes will be a challenge to do should people decide to do it, she says. Well, if we're going to change And listen, if we're going to change scientific names for arthropods, there's other places I'd rather start than with Asian giant hornets. And I don't think that northern giant hornet is more descriptive, unless they're saying that both Sorer and Mandarinia were both called Asian giant hornets previously. Then they could call them northern Asian giant hornets and southern Asian giant hornets. But I don't think that there's any reason though why we would have to get rid of the term Asian. It's a geographical location, it's not a people. It's not a race, and there are so many organisms that have Asian in their name. Asian, the main one that comes to my mind right now is Asian black bear. It distinguishes it from the North American black bear. And they're different species. There's Asian leopards, which are distinct from African leopards, different subspecies. So distinguishing what continent that an organism comes from is not in any way disparaging to the race. The scientific name Mandarinia, that is definitely specific to a race of people. So that might be something to talk about. But as far as the common name, I don't necessarily agree with this. I did agree with the spongy moth's old name because that was derogatory, and the people who were known by that name have a preferred name, and that word is used as a derogatory term. I don't know why I said it earlier in the stream. I should not have. Anyway, so that is our science for today. Return of the alleged murder hornets. Once again, they keep popping up in our subject for the science on this show, and I just love it because I love hornets and I love hymenopterans. I love arthropods in general, though. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up for the day. It's a little shorter show today. That's all right, but I am going to go and mess with my Halloween crab. I want everybody to remember to be kind and take care, and we will definitely be seeing you next time.